Hello, Jump here, and welcome to pretty wild video. My seat's a bit strange, so hence why the angle of where I'm sitting and the camera's a bit strange. It's a bit slanted. Everything's a bit slanted. So the objective today is to try and go through some economics, specifically microeconomic stuff. So let's do that, I guess. Yay. Don't want to go into context or not. Part of me does, the other part of me doesn't. Gosh, it's crazy how easy it is to map out these kind of things in one's head versus actually doing it. But it's okay. This is fine. This is fine. How are we, chat? Wait, I can't see chat. Is this a problem? I think this is a problem, guys. Also, I'm streaming on this channel publicly for the first time. I did some unlisted streams for the Oxford Maths admissions test. I was like doing some last minute preparation. I did it unlisted because I didn't want other people doing that test to like steal any of my tactics or anything. I'm not sure when I'm going to publish those publicly though, but at some point. And if that didn't mean anything, then whoops. Also, I can't dawdle too much. I wish I could, but because essentially there was in my sixth form there was an economics homework set where you had to revise, and you had to, for the economics, you have to have proof of it. So I was like, you know what, make a YouTube video, and then I can kill two birds with one stone. So I can make a YouTube video and do the economics homework at the same time. MLG study moment. All right. Things to cover. So I want to look at what is microeconomics, basic economic problem. I don't know if I want to go into positive and normative statements. It's not that deep, not that difficult and stuff. So that's not that interesting, I don't think either. So, but it is in there. Why demand/supply curve shifts, neoclassical numerical analysis with linear and supply curve moment or whatever. I think neoclassical's the way to describe it, because there's different theories about how best to analyze things from like an economic perspective, and classical's no good. And there's like all sorts of other crazy ways that are just kind of like no good either. If you go like past neoclassical and into like I guess modern or whatever. So neoclassical meaning like new classical is I think is the one that's like taught in like standard textbooks for A-level and stuff. I don't know, something like that. What else is there? Economic analysis 1. Can you actually see any of this, chat? I can't. I need to get chat up. This is a matter of urgency. I don't know how long I'm streaming for. Probably not too long. Oh no, this is a thing. Quality narration, dearie me. Sorry, my narration is pretty awful. Not really explaining what's going on, what I'm doing or anything. I haven't advertised this stream anywhere either, so if I get viewers, then it'll be a pretty clutch moment. Yo. Well, I have chat, but there's no one in chat, unsurprisingly, considering I didn't send a message about it anyway. I've got audio, right? Okay, yeah, that's fine. That might not be big enough, so to account for that, we're going to go bigger. 36 might be too big, though. Alright, 24 should be enough. Uh-oh. Oh wait, I should not have posted that. Hopefully you can change stream keys, otherwise that's a big problem, but I'll be alright. Oh no. Oh, that's actually a very big problem. Oh well, we'll worry about that in a bit. Oh no. You can block out bits of the stream, so I might need to do that because sharing stream key is a big problem. Okay. Oh dear. Oh well. Oh, everything's going wrong. Okay. There's quite a lot going on here. And then there's the what do you call them? Elasticity moments. And then there's 4 flavors of this. We're calling it flavors, I don't care. And it's related market moment 1. Okay, sick. Right, now we'll go into this. How many non in brackets are? How many brackets? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, 6/9. Heck, I'm feeling spicy, so I'm going to put the stream link in the Discord server. So someone's messaging in Discord. Oh, this is all just a mess. Oh, the thumbnail's so scuffed. Oh well. The thumbnail's my my Pokemon thumbnail thing. Hmm. Yeah, one of my Discord members is asking why there's a Pokemon thumbnail. Oh no, scuffed. How long have I been streaming? I just was like silent for a bit. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I was just trying to cause a chaos. Okay, she's like, wait, why are there so many Yoshi channels? Why are there so many channels by jumpre? You have a good question, Kayoshi. Okay, alright. Alright. This is everything we done in microeconomics so far, really, and we're just going to go through it from top down, and then it should be okay. Alright, what is economics? To be honest, I should know like a more proper definition. I think kind of like maths though, like the definition's not so properly thought about. I guess sort of the way I'm sort of thinking about economics to begin with, and sort of the way it's done, is it's basically every economist is going to study economics or specialize in economics slightly differently. And there's some different areas of economics, and there's some different dimensions of economics. So I guess we'll look at the. I have a drawing tablet, so this is going to be poggers. Frick. I don't know if this is the kind of revision you're meant to do. This is how I pretty much revise anything anyway. Very weird, like, just talk it through, think and stuff, versus looking at a textbook, because that's just no fun in it. Alright, so I'm actually going to finish this homework, I think, as long as I keep streaming longer than like 2 minutes, which I'm planning to. Because this is a homework due for tomorrow. We've got to revise microeconomics. This is such a bright moment. I love both being a YouTuber and a full-time student. It's a great combination. Alright, this is lagging so hard that it's going to take forever to write this, but that's okay. So we're only going to do 2 dimensions, and we're going to do 2 areas in each dimension. So because it's 2 dimensions, we can use this 2D screen to do a 2-way table for it. That's what we're going to do. So 1 dimension is macro or microeconomics. And this is answering the question, what is economics, by the way? The macro-micro split is less important, I think, than the other split, but it's so common that it's like worth putting like that. And I think the other key split is quantitative versus qualitative. You know, I'd even say there's like, I'm even going to put 3 on this dimension. We're going to have intermediate as well. I'll talk about what I think I mean by this / mean. So we've got quantitative, intermediate, qualitative. So essentially, economics starts with sort of the premise of maths works and is good, and you've got statistics, and you've got discrete maths and things. So you can describe things very precisely and do lots of complex things with these precise definitions of things mathematically. But the world doesn't quite fit the mathematics perfectly, as physicists and economics are both sort of aware of. So what you have to do in order to analyze the economy is you have to model the economy mathematically, but you're going to have to make simplifying assumptions. And I've sort of listed 3 main ways you can analyze the economy, and we'll talk about the economy in a second. But roughly speaking, I think both economics and physics both describe sort of the world in its most fundamental form, whereas physics is about like how objects interact in terms of like the physical interaction, like if I throw a pen like that, whereas economics is essentially anything that physics can't describe because it's like social and stuff. So when 2 people like come together and you make a transaction, like you buy something or something, physics wise there's not much interesting going on, you just pass money or whatever. But economically, clearly there's a lot going on. We have like ideas of who's more wealthy, how much value things have, and all that kind of thing. So that's what economics looks at. So quantitative versus qualitative. Quantitative is you analyze things using numbers, basically. So you have like a very fixed measure. So for example, you might have 0 here. You might say that it has a measure of 10, say. Whereas qualitative is it's like rich versus poor. So it's like you're not really putting a number on it. Instead, you're just sort of making statements about it. An intermediate is where it's sort of a mixture, which I don't know if people do, but I imagine they must. Imagine to an extent, all economics is probably going to have a mixture of quantitative and qualitative analytical techniques. But I can't prove that, I'm just guessing that's how it is. So that's why I've included intermediate in there too. I'd imagine the quantitative analysis stuff is more valuable, but like in our classes, because we study both macro and microecon, in our macro especially, we've done a lot of qualitative stuff. And you have to write essays, so I feel like essays, like by their very like structure, they have to be qualitative because you're using words rather than numbers. So it seems that there's a mixture. So that's sort of economics. It's quite hard to describe, which is quite frustrating for everyone involved, I think. But I gave it a bash. But it's kind of important because you can't really do a whole lot of study of economics if you're not sure what economics even is, you know. So hence why that's my starting point. Macro versus micro is essentially just what scale you're working on. There's a theory I quite like about economics where the economics doesn't change depending on how big the scale is. Not everyone agrees with this, but I like that idea. I don't remember the economist who I first heard that idea from. I think I have a book about it. It's a question of can I find said book? Probably not. If I could show you it. And it would be great. I'm sure I saw it. Oh, here it is. Oh, I don't know if it's inverted on the camera. Is it? Let's have a look. Oh, I'm so tired. Why do I have to do this? Oh, you can read it perfectly. It's called How an Economy Grows and Why It Crashes, and it's by Andrew J. Schiff, I think, spelled Schiff. Peter and Andrew Schiff, and they sort of both have this idea that the economics is the same regardless of the scale. So even though you have them as separate disciplines, in reality, the things that are true on a microeconomic scale are essentially going to be true on a macroeconomic scale. The only difference is in macroeconomics, the microeconomic system occurs multiple times. So sometimes I guess there can be a bit of interference, but as like the individual micro systems interact with each other to create the macro scale. But in general, it's pretty much the same thing. It's just you have to think slightly differently about it because there's a lot more people involved, is essentially the thing. More products and more people and more services. Okay, so we've looked at economics, we look at microeconomics for yes. The basic economic problem isn't very complicated. Essentially, the idea is that resources are finite, but the things people can want are unlimited. So it's pretty self-explanatory, really. I guess a key example of this that sort of demonstrates this quite useful is gold. So I'm going to use the US dollar because that works. I don't think it's the case anymore, but originally the US dollar was based on gold, and so any US dollars you had you could transfer them for gold at the bank if you wanted to, and vice versa. You could exchange gold for the currency. And the key idea is there's only a finite amount of gold that you can reasonably access within like the earth in terms of mining. So you got a finite amount of gold or money in this, I guess, is what you can think of as gold in this case. And then obviously people are going to want to have as much of it as possible. So yeah, you can't just create gold out of nowhere. So it's a case of how do we allocate that gold between the members of the country rather than if we can just create money or gold in this case out of nowhere. But as a matter of fact, you can create money out of nowhere, and that's what inflation is, which is the key area of economics. I guess I'll just go into now because I can. Inflation, the original definition, I think from, someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's from 1990 and before. Inflation was sort of widely accepted to be defined as increasing the money supply, which is essentially just creating money. But then from 1990 onwards, I believe they just randomly changed the definition to increasing prices. But yeah, increasing the money supply is probably a better, more useful definition of inflation. So I guess that's the one I sort of think about it with. I'm so hot. Let me take a jumper off. I'm wearing like 4 jumpers. I don't know why. 1 second. Actually, I'm going to take 2 jumpers off. Oh, what a bro moment. Hello. Okay, we continue. So we've done that. Can't be bothered. CBB. Supply and demand curves. Alright, well, as per usual, I'm going to be an economics student who hasn't a clue what supply curves, what the underlying structure of them are. We're just going to talk about demand curves and then just assume supply curves slope upwards. What do you call this? Do you call the price quantity diagram? I don't know what it's called. I guess I'll call it the price quantity diagram. Now this is quite weird because in maths and science and pretty much any other STEM subject, you'd have the independent variable along the bottom and the dependent variable along the vertical. But in economics, they put it the other way around. And I don't really know why, because you as a firm have control over the price, so that's the independent variable, and then the amount people demand is the dependent variable. But for some reason they put it along the bottom. So yeah, it makes the price elasticity stuff all annoying, because if it was on the bottom, I'm pretty certain it would just be a gradient. But because of flipping the axes like this, it means that the values are like the reciprocal of the gradient. So the things you learn about coordinate geometry and maths just like don't apply directly. So it's just annoying. I don't get it. I think it's because prices are the thing we look at and care about, and usually along here the dependent one would be the one you care about. But oddly enough, it's actually independent here because we can change price, but we still put it on there. But I guess you can think about it either way. So I guess you could think about quantity demanded being independent, because we sort of can control how much is demanded by either demanding it or not demanding it. Speaking of demand, let's define it real quick, because that's good revision. Yay. Economics fun. Woo. Demand. The quantity of the product or service a customer is able and willing to buy. So that one long string is. So after customer, we're just going to make a break like that. There we go. So if you want a lot of things but you can't buy it, that doesn't count. If you have enough money to buy something you don't want to buy, that doesn't count. It's only if you can buy it and you want to, then that'd be demand. And you go to the shop and you'd be like, I want to buy this, and they'd be like, okay. And so the purchase happens. Yay. Business, woo. They slope downwards. Reason being, there's two reasons, two like, I guess, like key reasons, and they both have fancy names. One is the income effect. I know there's the income effect. The income effect is basically I think the idea is basically if it costs less, then you can buy more. So let's say Cadbury's 12 chocolate bars were 100 pennies. You couldn't buy as many. Let's say you have a balance of £3.62, so 362 pennies. You clearly can't buy as many of them if they're 100 pennies as if maybe 7 pennies. And if they're 7 pennies, you might be like, wow, it'd be worth buying lots of them. So essentially, as price decreases, the amount you can buy increases. So it goes that way. And that's the demand curve. All right. We've kind of done a lot, but we kind of also haven't done much at the same time in economics. I don't know how much time of revision is an okay amount of time. Is 20 minutes acceptable? I'm going to say 20 minutes acceptable. If it's not, then oops. I can like do another revision on the economics after class, like straight soon after. This should be alright, right? Okay. I guess we could talk about market equilibrium. I guess we could talk about supply curves. I think I might have done a revision video like this before, but I've lost it. I don't know where I put it. It's probably on one of my other YouTube channels somewhere. Supply curves slope upwards, and explaining why is pain, suffering, and misery. So I'm not going to. But the idea is by the law of supply, if a firm increases the price, I haven't spoken what a firm is. Firm is basically, I mean, there's probably a subtlety involved, but for now we can just take firm to be an interchangeable term for just business, and then everyone's happy. I think technically firm can maybe be an individual person or like a business. So you could either be Tesco or you could be Jimmy on the street selling sweets. I don't know. They both be a firm. So that's a firm. the law of supply states that as price goes up, the quantity demanded also goes up. So if we sort of assume that demand is going to be the same regardless, changing the price, we can... Oh wait, but it's demand. No, this is the quantity supplied. As price increases, the quantity supplied increases. So I guess the amount of things that are there being sold. The equilibrium is because when the two curves cross, there'll be a single point where both curves are happy. Like that's like math stuff. Everyone's happy there, I think. I don't really want to talk about market equilibrium, I guess. I could talk about the fact that shift demand and supply curve, but I'm only going to spend like 20 minutes and there's elasticity to talk about, so let's do that, because that's far more interesting, exciting and new and fresh and all good, yay. I should be sleeping. I guess I'll sleep soon after. I also have another economics homework about price elasticity of supply. Incredible. It's actually wild that this oh, I've got 2 playbacks. That's radical, dude. How'd I get 2 playbacks? How long have I been streaming for as well? Probably about 20 minutes at this point, I think. Alright, so price elasticity moments, and there's 4 of them. So we got price elasticity of demand, income elasticity of demand, cross elasticity of demand, and there's price elasticity of supply. Oh, sorry, the cross price elasticity of demand. This bit feels a lot more comfortable and I'm okay with, but I probably won't remember it in the future, hence why I guess doing the revision now of talking it through is good, because it will help stick in my memory, and I've got this video to watch if that would be good, because there aren't really any good YouTube videos on. There's a Crash Course Economics, and that's about it. The economics content on YouTube that's any good. So maybe I should be an economics YouTuber, train really hard and then make good economics videos. I've got so distracted. Oh yeah. So I think the best way to think about these, at least how I'd do it, is I'd look at the gradient from maths and then just say it's like that. The way we were taught it in class is we got formulas for all of them, and then we were told it wasn't gradient, but I think what's quite useful is finding out how it's actually similar to gradient or not similar. So gradient in maths, where you have axes denoting 2 dimensions, we call this one the y dimension, this one the x dimension, where we've got a curve such as this. We define its gradient as the change in y over the change in x. But the interesting thing here is I haven't proven it yet, and I want to prove it, but I guess I don't have time to do it now. At some point I want to though, so I guess for now it's just a hypothesis because I haven't proven it. But I reckon this is actually the same thing as the percentage change in y over the percentage change in x, which is going to be important for what we're going to do in a second. I can't prove this as of right now, because, well, I could, but I don't want to, because I think it's going to be quite lengthy. Constructing a proof from first principles is just tricky. Usually in maths you get a starting point where you like memorize proofs. You don't usually have a situation like this where you've created the maths yourself and you have to construct a proof from scratch. It'd be really fun to do, it's just lengthy and takes time. But given this, that these are the same thing, then we'll see that all these are just gradients, but the reciprocal of the gradient, which means you just flip the fraction. So price elasticity of demand, for example, is just percentage change in, and the symbol used for quantity demanded is QD. Oh, my brain is about to give up. Help. It's been a pretty, just like the worst weekend ever. There was a big assignment due Friday last week, so I ended up doing that most of the week. So when the homework was set on Monday, I essentially was like, well, I got the weekend to do it, and this weekend has just been like horribly unproductive. So hence why it's 8 p.m. on the Sunday before tomorrow. I have to wake up at like 6, half 6. So it's just all around. Anyway, no one cares. So you got quantity demanded on the top, price on the bottom. But if we look at the axes, like we were looking at this just secondary price, quantity demanded or whatever diagrams, you got price here. So you see here we got Y there, and then let me switch colours. So you got Y here on the top and Y on the vertical axis, and then no, I don't care. We're going to get blue. Then we got this there, that there. Whereas here we got a quantity demanded, but then oh bother. But then quantity demanded is over here. So we got it on top but horizontal. So hence why PED is just the reciprocal of the usual gradient. I believe that's the hypothesis. I'm yet to prove it. I'll do that when I get time free, because I really want to at some point. Or maybe my economics instructor will see this, or I can ask her to see it, and I'll be like, is my theory correct? So y and x are there, so therefore this is equal to the change in x over the change in y. So that's the reciprocal of gradient. So hence why the elasticity things are a pain, basically because they swap the axes around, like I said before. Really, price, I think, should be along the bottom if we're going to do it mathematically, but you can swap them. There's nothing stopping you. It just creates confusion in the topic unnecessarily, I guess, if you've done a lot of maths before. I don't know, something like that. Something like that. So yeah, I guess I'll put gradient reciprocal here. So we'll use GRA for gradient, and then we'll put a -1 exponent. Woo. Okay. I guess for the other ones we'll just put the formulas. Is there really anything to talk about other than the formulas? Hello. What's up? A muffin. Okay. Thank you. Do you want to say hi to my stream?
Hi.
Okay. I'm being given food. I'm not going to complain. Just as well, I was falling apart. Nothing in chat. Sad times. I think all of my potential pool of viewers are either asleep or don't care, which is fair enough. Quantity demanded with respect to income, which we don't know why. Oh, I could put a fancy delta symbol actually. Where's the delta symbol? I can look for it. Oh no, that wasn't the correct button. Panic moment. This video is such a bro moment. Yay, emojis, woo. Yeah, here's a keyboard. It shows you where the symbols are. It's Alt-J. Percentage change. Oh, look at that. Incredible. So that's YED. Oh yeah, I need to talk about positive negative values between 0 and 1 and greater than 1, all that jazz. cross price elasticity of demand is quite cool. I would usually, well, yeah, I would want to describe everything that's going on usually, but for now, just recalling by remembering the symbols and knowing the symbols but not saying what the symbols are is what I'm going to do. Percentage change in price. Okay. So for YED, if the value will always be positive, because, and we can think about this through reciprocals, which is quite cool. So as we know, no, YED will always be negative, because as we know, the curve goes down, and then we know that PED is the reciprocal of the gradient. So if the gradient's going down, reciprocal of a negative number is going to be a negative number too. So it's going to have a negative value. Epic. I have to put 0 on that one because the economic convention apparently is to put 0 at the origin. I don't know either. But in maths, we don't bother, so I'm not going to put one on there. Yeah, I don't know why that's a thing, but fine. Okay, and then we can look at what the different numbers mean. So 0 to 1, we call it inelastic. And this is for all of them, really. Inelastic for 0 to 1. And then 1 is unit elastic, and then 1 or greater than 1 is elastic. So yeah, so that's PED. YED is same thing again, I think. It's how quantity demanded changes with respect to income, which is that if income increases, quantity demand increases, so positive again. Yeah, these are all, I'm going to give it a T for trivial because I feel like it. So therefore, we really do not care. I think the cross-price elasticity of demand is really interesting there, so we're going to take a bit of time on that and then call it a day and sleep. Do the other tasks first, I guess. Badly, probably, because I'm hardly alive right now. Oh, this is such a mood. Why is this a thing? But hey, at least my homework's done. Epic. Because I really thought I wasn't going to get it done before tomorrow, but I would say this is doing it. Personally, I'd say it's a dub, personally. Insert we win these quote, no, meme here. We win these. Oh dear. What am I even doing? Cross price elasticity of demand. I should just retitle this video to economic bro moment, honestly. Oh yeah, so this ties into the original thing I was talking about of quantitative versus qualitative. So one of the key ideas in neoclassical microeconomic numerical analysis using supply and demand curves, I think. I hope that made sense and was right, but it might not have. Using that thing, basically the diagram with the price, the quantity, demand, curve, supply, yeah. How does that link into substitutes and complements? I guess I'll talk about demand curve shifts very briefly because I can. The idea is, no, what am I doing? The idea is that let's first talk about substitutes. So this diagram is for one market. So let's say it's pizza. So if it was, I guess we'll start with complements. If it was complements, let's say the complements the dip to go with the pizza. The idea is if, say, the price of the complement decreases, then you'll buy more of the dip, but then you might buy more pizza to go with it. This is probably not the best example, but you get the idea. And the complement effect can sort of happen all the time. So complement price goes down, so people buy more of this thing, the pizza or whatever. So the curve shifts to the right. So for the same price, people are buying more because of the extra effect of the complement. But we're doing this on a very qualitative analysis perspective. Like, we're just saying the two are complements because we know about those objects beforehand. Like, we're not using any numbers here, we're just observing what happens. So that's like qualitative analysis. And we can also do a similar thing for substitutes in it, fam. So I'm going to type this because it might be quicker and easier. Okay. So a substitute for, I was going to say for toothpaste. What's a substitute for toothpaste? Is hardly one. What would we need a substitute for? A substitute for Dr. Pepper is Coca-Cola. So let's say that the price of Coca-Cola is a lot less, then you might switch from buying Dr. Pepper to buying Coke because it's cheaper, and then people are buying less, regardless of the price of Dr. Pepper, people are buying less of it because they're buying Coke instead. So the demand curve shifts that way. So this is a qualitative perspective of substitutes and complements, but it turns out that like, as is the golden rule in both physics and economics, words are clunky and numbers are wonderful. So if we could do all of this with numbers only, then everyone would be grateful for it. And it turns out we can, using cross-price elasticity of demand. So the way it works is you look at one factor from one good and one factor from another good, and from that you get a number to compare the two goods. And those numbers are equivalent to complements and substitutes, but the epic thing about it is it tells you like how much it is. So is it strongly a complement? Is it weakly a complement? Are they independent? Like, you can get a range of values. So we take the quantity demanded of the first product, and we take the price of the other product. And I believe if you want to graph it, you'd have quantity demanded of X here, maybe? Wait, have we ever put it on a graph? Maybe we haven't. Seems reasonable to do that. So if they are, we'll start with the complements like we did before, complements, then we'd expect as the in my head I thought I understood this properly, but now I'm struggling. But this is good. This is why you do things like this, so you can figure out again, so it sticks with you more in the future. Something, I don't know. So price of the complement increases. No, it should be the other way, should it? I think it's easier to draw the. Oh no, I think it's easier to draw the graph and then think, does it make sense? So we're saying price of the other one increases. Oh no, so then people would demand less of the other one. No. Yeah, so prices, so let's do some analysis on it. I'm going to not do a dotted line because it's annoying to do. So as price increases from 1 to 2, that's decreasing quantity demanded, which makes sense. So complements are denoted with negative numbers, so that would be cross price elasticity of demand is smaller than 0 negative. And the common thing is to think that complements will be positive because it's like they complement each other, so positive, but it's not like that. It's because I guess the better way to think about it is when they're complements, the price and demand are at war. So you're either going to buy one or the other. So it makes sense it's sort of a negative relationship. As you increase one, you have to decrease the other because you're only going to get one or the other. You're not going to get both. So I guess it does make sense that complements have a negative. I should probably check in my notes book that that is the case. But I'm pretty certain it is. And if it is, then I'd say I've succeeded at life and I can end this stream because I've completed the thing. The problem is, where is the textbook? Sorry, my notes book. Answer, I have no idea. Bruh. Oh, that's no fun. I'm trying to think where I might have put it. I think I was using it for the other economics homework. But oh my gosh. Is that it? Yay, I found it. Are they complements when XED is smaller than 0? Oh, I never took any notes on it. Bruh. One sec. I never took any. This was a class I missed because I had an interview in York. So I learnt it, but then it's only in my head. I'd also on a PowerPoint slide. I like to take physical notes, but for this one thing I did digital notes. But that's okay, I can find the digital thing and everyone it will be good. Oh, yeah, there was an acronym we used. Never mind. SPNC. Substitutes positive, complements negative, negative complements. Okay. Yeah, so I was right about the logic. But basically in class, the economics instructor demonstrated that people tend to get it wrong and think complements is net positive, XED. And the idea was there was no intuition for it being negative, but I think there is intuition, and that's because the key word you can think of with complements is or. And with an or situation, you either do one or the other. So it makes sense to have negative correlation. Negative correlation, you either invest in one or the other. You can't invest in both. Oh, it's like production possibility frontiers. You either make one product or the other, and hence you have the negative relation. So you have x plus y equals a constant. So in other words, the amount you can make overall is fixed. K is fixed. I like to do 2 dots above something to show it's fixed. So if you increase x, you have to decrease y because otherwise it won't add up to k. So hence you end up with this x plus y equals k is the graph of a thing, negatively correlated curve. Reason being is you can rearrange to show that this is going to have a negative gradient because you'll see the coefficient of x will be negative when you put it across this side to put in the y equals mx plus c form or whatever. Get the idea. Okay. So numerical analysis. So you can use the formula. So you put in your percentage change in quantity demand of x, your percentage change in price of y. It gives you a value, and I'm not going to bother with substitutes. You get the idea at this point. And that value will tell you. So if it's how am I going to do this? Big negative, then they're strong complements. If it's small negative, then they're weak complements. If it's 0, they're independent or close to 0. I don't know what the recommended margin is. I guess you'd use a bit of qualitative analysis at the same time to determine the margin. So if you look at what the goods are, and they're clearly independent things, and it's close to zero, you'd use it as evidence that they're independent. Yeah, this is why social sciences are frowned upon by physicists, because of the use of qualitative analysis just randomly. But I love it. I think it's great. I think opinions are cool. In the academic context, as well as the out of the academic context, I think opinions are fun. And it's cool because in STEM there's not as much of it, but in economics there's opinions everywhere and it's fun. If it's small and positive, it's a weak substitute, and if it's big and positive, then it's a strong substitute. I guess you think about it as the steepness of the graph, but that will get very technical, very confusing very quickly. I want to wrap things up here. I'll hand this assignment in, see what my economics instructor thinks, and learn and improve, change for next time I do a homework like this, if we get a homework like this ever again. It's going to be so interesting to see what other people do for this homework too. Alright, well, thank you wonderful people of the internet for tuning in for this stream of economic madness with me, jumpre. I've been eating cake like so much for this end part. That's no good, is it? Oops. Oh well. Oh well. Yeah. Have a good rest of your week. Catch you in a bit. Bye.